Okay, we're back. So I'll let Mary Ellen go ahead and continue with her. Mary Ellen, if you could unmute yourself, please.
Hi. I just want to finish up um, with the person who said they were depressed. I really feel that if you're depressed, you really need to talk to someone, talk to a good friend, talk to your doctor, talk to someone and tell them what's going on. Don't keep it to yourself. Talking to other people can help you figure out what you can do. It helps make it clearer in your mind what the next steps might be. And you'll feel better. You'll get a plan. It will help you decide what you need to do in your life to make your life maybe simpler so that you don't feel so overwhelmed, because we all feel overwhelmed. All of us feel overwhelmed, and it can be depressing. But don't feel like you're the only one. You really need to talk to someone that you trust, someone that will listen to you and will hear what you're saying and can really help you kind of figure out what your next steps might be. And sometimes just talking to someone helps us figure out what we need to do next, because the answers really are within us. And when we talk about it, especially to a trusted friend or a physician, a doctor that we trust, it kind of tumbles out and it helps us decide where we want to go and what we need to do to be healthier. So don't just think that it will pass. Depression doesn't pass. It can only get worse. And you're not fooling yourself. Your children and your family know if you're not doing well, the whole family is not doing well. And it's your obligation to take care of yourself and to take care of your family. So I'm going to, and if you need to talk more about that, you can always email me and we can talk. Okay. Our next slide is going to be on concrete support in times of need. And access to concrete support and services that address the family's needs and help minimize stress caused by challenges. So every family needs help sometimes, especially during a crisis. And we really need to feel comfortable in saying everybody needs help. It's really hard to admit that we need help sometimes because we want to appear as competent. We want to appear as confident in our parenting. We don't want other people to think that we're having trouble. We don't want other people to think that we don't know how to deal with our children, with our family, with things that are going on within our home. So oftentimes we don't want to share it with anybody. We don't want to say that we're having a difficult time. We don't want to share it. It makes us feel like we're less than we should be. So it's important to feel comfortable in saying, I need help when we need help. Everybody needs help. It's not a way of saying that you're less than who you are if you ask for help. Sometimes asking for help shows a stronger person. Challenges with basic needs can create overwhelming stress for family and households, and this stress can harm the health and safety of the caregivers, children, and communities. Luckily, there are resources available to help families move from surviving to thriving. We don't want to just survive. We want to thrive. We want our families to thrive, even during COVID-19. And as I was saying, it's a balancing act because sometimes we're afraid to ask. We're embarrassed to ask. We don't want to admit that we need help because people would think less of us. But in reality, they don't. They think we're stronger because we're admitting that we need help during this time. And when you can admit that you need help, then others feel more confident to say, you know what? I'm not feeling as strong as I thought I should either. I need some help over here. And then people are really being truthful and honest. And that's what we need to be with each other. We shouldn't be putting up facades. If we need help, we need to ask our neighbor. We need to ask our family. We need to ask our friends. So concrete support, what does that mean? That's immediate help to minimize the stress caused by difficult challenges and adversity. And so asking, we've been talking about that, asking is not easy for two reasons. We feel incompetent to care for our family. And the second one is we don't know where to go to take care of our family. So we may need some help with food insecurity or financial insecurity, but finding those resources might be difficult. Finding those community services might be difficult. And just because I'm talking, I get to tell you my experiences. Years ago, it's not the same now because there are wonderful services in our community and they're there for you. And we have opportunities to meet them and be supported. But years ago, they didn't come and knock at our door. You know, we had to look for them. And oftentimes, I remember when I heard that my son had cerebral palsy, I called Easter Seals Society. And they said, I'm sorry, we don't do that. And they hung up on me. And it was like, oh my gosh, who do I call now? I don't know who to call. I was looking for I don't remember what I was looking for, but whatever it was, they didn't do. And they just said, I'm sorry, we don't do that. Goodbye. And it was like, I didn't know who to call. I didn't know where to go. I didn't know what kind of services I needed. And it was only in finding another parent to talk to and asking them, who did you call for this? Where did you get that I was able to find the resources that I needed. So when you're looking for concrete support, where do you go? You want to be assisted. You want to help parents identify and receive concrete support, which helps them receive the basic necessities that everyone deserves in order to grow. If they need financial support, if they need help with rent, if they have food insecurities, what are the community resources that you can refer to them to? If they need a PHP support group or the resource center or the website, how do you refer them? If they need mental health or social services, educational or legal services, where do you refer them? If they need 211, 211 is an example of concrete support, or food banks, or friends or their neighborhood or their church, or DDS.gov is a good resource. So we're always looking for resources in times of need. And let me just share with you too, concrete support in time of need. A few years ago, I broke my foot and I was in a cast, and my husband was ill at the time. And I couldn't walk on my foot, so it meant I couldn't go grocery shopping. And for a while, my friends would say, would you like us to bring over some food? Or I said, no, we're fine. Well, that lasted for about a week. And then I was calling them saying, yes, please bring over some food. Please do some grocery shopping because my husband is too ill to get out and drive and I can't walk. And we've eaten every frozen dinner in the house. So now we need some support. And believe me, it was tough to do. It was like, I'm the one that's usually taking food to someone when they're ill. It was hard to be asking other people to do that for me. But once I did, it felt really good to be so cared for and nourished. And the people that did it for me, they were so glad to be able to help. So I learned that it was a gift. It was a gift on my part to let other people step in and help me. And I hadn't realized that I had to see it as a gift. And I had to learn that it's okay to need help, that I can't be strong all the time, that there's going to be times when I need other people to step in and help me, that I can't always be the helper, that I have to be, that I'm going to sometimes be the helpee, that they're going to be helping me. So the question that I want to ask you is, can you identify one concrete need that, if met, would lighten your burden? So think about that. What is happening to you that, if you identified one concrete need, would lighten your burden? Maybe you could have someone call a grocery store and have them deliver your groceries instead of grocery shopping once a week. Or maybe you could ask your sister-in-law to come over and help watch the kids once a week for a couple of hours, bring her kids over and have a play date with your kids, and you give her maybe $20 for 4 hours or something, so that she'd have a little spending money and you'd have some peace and quiet, so you could take a bath, or you could read a book, or you could do something like that. One concrete support in time of need. Or maybe once a week you would order dinner in, have a pizza delivered or something, so you wouldn't have to cook. And maybe it would be on the night that both you and your husband had a heavy duty work day or something. So something that would make your life a little easier. What would that concrete support be? And then come up with a list of 3 possible things, avenues to get that would meet your need, and people to ask, agencies to approach, or services to hire. So think about 3 things, not just one, but think about 3 things that would meet your need. What would you do that would make it easier for you? Now, my son just told me about Grubhub, and what's the other one? There's another one that delivers food. I don't know. I can't even remember what it is, but he put it on my phone. I have yet to use it, but I have a friend now that's coming down from Manteca. She's working, she's doing accounting, and so she's coming down to stay once a month, and she's 80 years old, and she's coming to stay with me, and she comes down in the evenings once a month to stay for a couple of nights. And otherwise she goes home, and then she quarantines for 14 days, and then she comes back down here and stays. So I thought, wouldn't it be nice sometime when she comes, the 2 of us, we could just order something and not have to go out and get it, because the nights are getting darker. So I asked him to give me the number for Grubhub, or whatever the one is that delivers. I don't even know. It's on my phone. I'll have to look for it, but I haven't used it yet. But it would be nice that I wouldn't have to go. I wouldn't have to order. I do have Pizza Hut and a Chinese food on my phone, but it would be nice to have something else. So I think
the other service is called DoorDash.
Oh, that's what it is. DoorDash. Thank you. So it's on my phone. I just haven't used it yet, but that's one of my concrete supports in time of need, which you can see how needy I am. I'm not very needy right now, which is very nice. But there are lots of things. I mean, if we needed access to additional financial support to know which agencies give first and last month rent. I know at our church, we had a donation of $5,000 and $1,000 gift cards for some of our families that were especially stressed during the last month. And so those gift cards were given to 5 of our families to help them with expenses over the last month or so. So they're to know that that's available for a family if they're really stressed. So there are different things that are out there, to know what's available and how to take advantage of them is really important.
Brenda, do you have any comments in the chat section on that?
Somebody says virtual classes for kids young. Oh, I'm sorry, no, that's not a comment. No, I think that they are just comment on Grubhub and DoorDash, Uber Eats about shipping grocery or having the grocery delivers. That's it.
Oh, I thought of another one. There is, my girlfriend just gave me the exercise thing online. Curves. Curves has, for $20 a month, they do exercise online, and the woman talks to you specifically and gives you exercises. So there's Pilates online. Another friend of mine does Pilates online, and they talk to them specifically. So to get them in right at the level that they're at so that they have their own exercise program. There's yoga online. There's anything that you can think of, and you can do it on your phone. You can do it on your computer. They have other things for young children. They have games and exercises and things for children to do online that are not expensive, that are very inexpensive. So that keeps them busy, that gives them exercise, that's fun to do. And it's a routine. It's a routine that keeps them going. So those are, I think of those as supports. Those are supports because they give the individual, the family, the child something to do, something to occupy their mind, something to keep them busy. So think about 3 possible ways to meet your need, and people to ask, agencies to approach, or a service to hire. What could you do? I mean, you can ask a family member to step in and do something. You could ask, you could hire an agency, you could, or hire a service, or you could approach an agency for a resource. All of those things, they all work. Okay, so let's move on to, so those 4 all have to do with the adult, with the parent or the caregiver. Now we're going to talk about social emotional competence in children. And it doesn't matter whether the child has special needs or not. This applies to all children. The family-child relationship helps the child develop the ability to recognize and regulate their emotions, to express themselves, and to interact with others. One of the best skills that parents can develop with their children is the ability to experience, to express, and manage their emotions, to communicate their needs, and to establish positive, rewarding relationships. Parents who can model these skills and provide space to develop and practice these skills are building resilience in their families. Relationships shape young children's learnings. From infancy, parent-child and family relationships guide and motivate children's love for discovery and learning, and provide the secure foundation for the growth of exploration and self-confidence. That's from the California Preschool Curriculum Framework in 2010. And I put that in the reference. So in the literature, they found that early childhood experience set the stage for success in life. In the past, the focus for early childhood was really on the academics, but the shift in recent decades has been, the research has demonstrated that the strong link between the child's social emotional competence and their cognitive development, their language skills, their mental health, their school success, and ultimately their later success in life really is attributed to their social emotional competence. So social emotional competence does not evolve naturally. That development depends on the quality of the nurturing attachment and stimulation that the child experiences. And we're going to talk about specifically what that is. And you're going to get the handouts in a minute for that. Numerous research studies show that a relationship with a consistent, caring, and attuned adult who actively promotes the development of these dimensions, and I'll tell you what the dimensions are in a minute, is essential for healthy social, emotional outcomes in young children. Okay, so if we turn to the next slide. And the next, so these are the dimensions. Social emotional competence in children are these activities. Self-esteem. So what is self-esteem? It's feeling good about yourself. You know, if we talk to our children nicely, if we're not yelling at them and calling them stupid or telling them to be quiet or shut up, I hate that word, or calling them names, if we're building, those are things that destroy self-esteem. If we talk to them nicely, if we tell them that they've done a good job and we're specific about what they did well, that they did a good job in paying attention and finishing their homework, or what, you know, we're building their self-esteem. We're making them feel good about themselves. They did something well. Self-confidence. Self-confidence really helps them open to new challenges. If they feel good and they're about themselves, then they have the confidence to try new things. They're not afraid, because when you try new things, you're not always going to be successful. You're going to fail a lot. But if you fail and you give up, then you know you're not confident. You have to be willing to fail and try again and again. And when you're successful, then you build that self-confidence. You feel good enough about yourself to keep trying. Self-efficacy, believing one is capable of performing an action. When we ask our children to do something, we know that they're capable of doing it. We're not going to ask them to do something that's beyond their limitations, beyond their means. We won't ask them to fix dinner if they're only 3 years old, because we know that they're not able to perform that action. We won't ask them to tie their shoes if they only use one part of their body. If they only use one side of their body and they only use one hand. My son only uses one hand, so he can't tie his shoes, but he can Velcro. So I get him shoes with straps that Velcro, and he can put his shoes on by himself. So believing one is capable of performing an action and giving him an opportunity to be successful in that action builds his self-confidence and increases his good feelings about himself, builds his self-esteem. Self-regulation, acting appropriately and controlling impulses. Now, this is hard. This is really hard, and oftentimes our young people need to be reminded over and over and over again that they're not acting appropriately. And a lot of them do not have impulse control. It doesn't mean that we ignore this. We don't ignore it. Even though we know that they have very little impulse control, we tell them that they're not acting appropriately, that they have to take their turn, that it's not appropriate what they're doing, and they begin to learn self-regulation. My son, Joe, who's 45, will talk to himself. He'll say, wait in line, quietly, quietly. And what he's actually doing is he's reminding himself to be quiet. And in church, when we were going to church, he would say, quiet, quiet. People thought he was saying that to them, or he'd go, shh, shh. What he was actually doing, he wasn't telling other people to be quiet. He was actually reminding himself to be quiet. He was trying to control his impulse to talk when the priest was talking. He was trying to act appropriately. And he will say sometimes, I act appropriate, Mom. I act appropriate. I said, yes, you acted appropriately. That was very good. You waited until it was your turn. You didn't push in line. So self-regulation means that they understand and they try to control their impulses. Personal agency, that means planning and carrying out purposeful actions. Can they plan something and then carry out the activity? Can they plan making their sandwich and then go forward and make that sandwich, maybe peanut butter and jelly? Maybe they're going to make you lunch and they said, Mom, I'm going to make you lunch today and I'm going to make you a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. And then when lunchtime comes around, they go into the kitchen and they make you a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. They're able to plan and carry out a purposeful action. Executive function, this is extremely important. Staying focused. I have trouble with this. I get distracted easily. And it's an important one, staying focused. Patience is waiting. Can they wait? It's difficult for all of us. We know that. Persistence. Some of our kids are very persistent. They keep trying and trying and trying. We say they're perseverating because they never stop. But we could look at it as they're being persistent. They didn't get what they needed, so they keep trying until they get what they needed. They're willing to try again. They're persistent. Conflict resolution. That means that they're resolving a disagreement in a peaceful way. This is important to learn. I asked my son, he has his language is delayed because he had a stroke and on the side of his brain that affects his speech. So he talks, it's difficult for him to talk and he talks differently and sometimes people don't understand. And certainly the people in his day program didn't always understand what he had to say. And he would get frustrated and he would use his fist to let them know how he was feeling. After a while, he would use his fist. And so I would say to him, you can't hit people. You can't do that. That is not a way of expressing what you're feeling. You have to use your words. And so he's learned how to be very patient and he's persistent. Maybe they call it perseverate, but he's persistent and trying to tell them what he wants. Instead of using his fists. So most of the time now he will stand there and talk and tell them what he's interested in and try to get their attention. Communication skills, understanding and expressing a range of positive and negative emotions. He's good about making facial expressions to let you know he's not happy or positive. He'll jump up and down. Understanding and expressing a range of positive and negative emotions. Can they tell you what's going on? Can they express being happy or sad? And oftentimes they're very intuitive. They pick up the environment and they will respond to that. Our kids with special needs. Empathy, responding to the emotions of others. And they're very good at picking up. My son is very good at picking up the emotions of others and will ask them how they're doing and how they're feeling. And social skills, making friends and getting along. Sometimes that's harder for all of us. Sometimes making friends, we don't always know how to do that and how to get along. It's sometimes we want it our way. Or the highway, but we have to learn how to get along. And morality, learning a sense of right and wrong. Do they know if it's really wrong if they do that? If they bite someone or if they hit someone? or they take something that doesn't belong to them. Do they know it's wrong? Yeah, a lot of times they do. Okay, so these are all dimensions of things that develop social emotional readiness in children. And I can tell you, my son scores pretty high in all of these, even though his functional age is around a 5-year-old. Okay. Can we turn to the next page? Okay. What do children need in order to thrive? They need nurturing, responsive, reliable, and trusting relationships. Plus, they need regular, predictable, and consistent routines, interactive language experience, a physically and emotionally safe environment, and opportunities to explore and learn by doing. These are really critical. Nurturing, responsive, reliable, and trusting relationships. That means they can count on us. We're going to be around. We're not leaving. We're going to be kind and not loud. We're going to be responsive. We're going to be reliable, regular, predictable, and consistent. Every day, predictable at a certain time, consistent routines. And it's really, I know one of the things during COVID-19, it was easy to get out of consistent routines, but it's really important for children, and especially special needs children, to have their routines. Those are important to them. Interactive language experiences, opportunities to communicate back and forth, and a physically and emotionally safe environment. And then opportunities to explore and learn by doing. And you can explore and learn by doing in your home. There are lots of opportunities. There's games, there's opportunities on TV, there's shows, there's workouts, there's puzzles, there's all sorts of things that you can do. Okay, so let's go to the next slide. What can parents do? What can parents do to provide opportunities for children to thrive? They can model empathy. If you care for others, children see that. And they are like sponges. They learn from you. Allow a safe place to express emotions. It's not good or bad. Things are not good or bad. It's okay to be angry, but it's not okay to hit. Emotions are just emotions. Let them know it's okay to be angry. It's okay to be sad. It's okay to be, what are some of the other emotions? It's okay to be happy. All of those things. Emotions are not good or bad. Whatever you want to be, it's okay. It's just not okay to hit. If you're angry, it's not okay. Be emotionally responsive to your child. Excuse me. That means not always on your cell phone. I was talking about being on the phone with my girlfriend and complaining about my son being right next to me. I wasn't emotionally responsive to him. I was with him all the time, but I was just emotionally distant. And he knew it. Can you set clear expectations and limits? People in our family don't hit. We use our words. Be real clear about your expectations and your limits. Express and reinforce social skills. We say please and thank you. Whatever your social skills are, they're more than just please and thank you. We let older people go first. We hold the door open. We all sit down. We say grace before meals. Whatever they are, you create them so that they know them. Create opportunities to solve problems. What do you think you should do if someone hits you or says something mean to you? And then do some problem solving with them. What do you think you should do? Are you going to hit them back? No. Are you going to talk to your teacher? Well, yes. Are you going to just tell them, don't hit me, I don't like that? So you work out some scenarios so that they know if something like that happens to them, they have a repertoire of things to do. Reinforce positive behaviors by commenting on them. Say, that was good sharing. Thank you for helping. Okay, and then here's a question. And I like to do this. I like to think of an adult that you loved when you were a child. What was important? What was it about that relationship with that adult that made it important? And can you replicate any elements in that relationship with your child? Okay, I'm having trouble with my watch to see what time it is.
It's 11:43.
Okay. So let me go in summary, and then we can answer any questions. So my summary is this. There were 4 protective factors for parents and caregivers. 1 protective factor, specifically addressing child development. These 5 protective factors are tools that you can use. They can support you and your family. Be prepared to adapt to the ever-changing stressors in your life and any outside events. Understanding and using these 5 protective factors can help you maintain a happier and healthy family. We all want to thrive, not just survive. You know your family best. These are just tools to help you navigate your life's journey. Enjoy the ride. And then on the last page, Judy can put it up. These are my resources and references. php.com, cssp.org, strengtheningfamilies.net, parenting during COVID-19, building a state of hope, state of Georgia, child trends, special education guidance for COVID-19. There's some really good resources there. California Department of Health. There is a document from them that you can also get at Parents Helping Parents that gives you the right, if your child with special needs gets COVID-19 and they have to go into the hospital, gives you the right to go in with a caregiver. Only one of you would be in the room with your individual with COVID-19 at the time, but you are allowed to go into a caregiving facility or a hospital so that they do not have to go by themselves. So it would allow 2 of you, one yourself or a designated caregiver, to be in with them at all times, so they wouldn't have to be by themselves. DDS.california.gov is really a good website. YMCA Child Care Resource Service is a good website with lots of activities for children. And then the preschool curriculum framework has lots of good information about social emotional competence for children. Okay, and then if you have any questions or any comments.
There was one question, but I think you already answered it. It was about resources for families with kids with special needs. So this is the response. And they have a lot of comments like, they loved your presentation. Some people like the social emotional competence bullet point list. She said that it's excellent.
Well, that's what we'll be sending out to everyone.
That's good. Yeah, and what else? Yeah, just they loved your stories. They loved your own story. They feel like encouraged by it, and they don't feel alone. Just
Good.
listening
You
to
should
you.
never feel alone. That's the worst thing, is feeling alone, because then you feel hopeless, and there's so much hope. There's so much hope. My son is doing so well. My 45-year-old son is doing so well and so happy. He's just living a wonderful life.